Hey there folks, this is Oliver from Techitron, and today I'm back with yet another smartphone review for you guys. So I'm going to be taking a look at the Goldberg Ion NL1 today, and this device is primarily known or has been marketed for its battery life. The Ion series in general is actually marketed for its battery life. So without wasting any more time, as usual, we're going to go in and get the review done. Let's get rolling with one of my favorite aspects of any review, and that is the design. At first glance, the Ion NL1 may not seem like the most beautiful smartphone in the world, but that's the story here. There's more to the design than what meets the eye. It's a lot about the in-hand feel. The NL1 is not the most expensive handset on the market, and given that fact, Goldberg has actually done a pretty decent job at making this device feel a lot more expensive than it actually is. Around all four sides of the Ion, we have an elegant metallic trim that is textured and goes all the way around the entire device, giving a good place to hold the device and feel the grip of it. Now, this also means that when you're holding it like this, you get to feel the texture on this. And this is part of what contributes to the premium feel, if I must say, of this device. The fact that you get this textured edge. A very small detail, but it goes a long way. The camera module on the back also has a very elegant gold metallic ring around it, similar to the edge that goes all the way around the device. And this again elevates the premium feel of the device. I've already used the word premium in this review a number of times already, but don't let that get you confused. The back is made of plastic, and that's what it feels like. Plastic. It's not going to feel like the best thing in the world, but given the price, I think this is pretty good. Using the device one-handed is also not much of an issue, because the nice form factor as well as the size of the screen allows you to easily reach any of the edges of the device without much hassle. For the display, Goldberg has stuck with a 5-inch IPS panel with a resolution of 480 by 854. Now, I don't need to tell you that this is a low resolution display because you can easily tell that there is some pixelation here. You can see that some of the edges of some particular objects get a little, bumpy. And that's not really a bad thing given the price of this device. On a higher note, some good aspects about the device is that blacks that are reproduced are actually very deep and dark. And other than that, the brightness scale is also very good. Now, on the higher end of the brightness spectrum, you will see that it goes pretty damn high, but on the lower end I would have liked it to go a bit lower because I did find some annoyance when I was using this device in complete darkness. Now, viewing angles aren't bad either, but again, given the quality of the display, given the resolution, that's kind of what you expect. Now, I know you guys are always clamoring for benchmarks, so today we have Geekbench 3 and Antutu benchmark. So first of all, you can take a look at the single core and multi-core score while I tell you about the processor. Now, we have a 1.3 GHz quad-core processor, and 1 GB of RAM. So the Geekbench 3 score is actually pretty decent, so let's take a look at Antutu benchmark and see how much we got on that. And again, as you can see, we have a score that's close to 20,000, which for a device with this specification is actually pretty decent. On the software side of things, we have Android 4.4.2 KitKat running the show here. And although I would have liked to see Marshmallow on this, KitKat is one of my favorite builds of Android to date, and it's very well known for its stability and good performance, so I do not have any complaints here. Now, we have a very similar to stock Android experience here, and I would like to say that the launcher available is not my favorite because it does oftentimes stutter and have frame drops. So all I did was, as you guys probably know, I went and hit up Nova Launcher, and I was a happy toddler. Now, if you take a look at the notifications panel, everything looks nice and stock. We have all our quick toggles here and whatnot. And since there isn't much scope for customization within this smartphone because we're using a very stock build, there isn't much more to go over in terms of the software. But overall, I'd like to say, after I did apply my own launcher, performance was excellent. I didn't face any issues at all, and I was, at the end of the day, very satisfied. One cool thing about the Ion NL1 is that it has smart gesture support from the lock screen. Now, as you can see, the screen is switched off, so all I have to do is swipe all the way from the top to the bottom to unlock the device. Now all I have to do to change this is go to the settings and go to smart wake up. Now the coolest part about this is that I can choose anything, any app that I want, and a gesture that is mentioned over here to launch it immediately from the lock screen. Now I chose a Paint C, and as you will see, it opens up the camera almost instantaneously. Now, one thing I would like to mention is that I did experience the device sometimes unlocking itself on its own in my pocket. Now, I would also like to mention that only the unlock gesture, which is swiping down, was the one that caused this to happen. All the other gestures, like the C that I did just a while ago, it had nothing to do with unlocking in my phone accidentally. Now, this is obviously going to give you a good way to access certain apps and shortcuts very quickly, and is a very handy feature. Now, as you do know, the Ion series is marketed for the battery life, as I mentioned in my introduction. So obviously I took a very good and in-depth look at how long this battery lasted me. The battery pack inside the NL1 is a very large 3300 mAh unit, and I'm good and happy to report that this does not add much bulk to the device itself. As for the battery performance, I am extremely happy. Now, if you take a look at this graph, you can see that I used this smartphone continuously without charging for almost 2 days, and here at this point is where I actually did charge the device last night. So I also took some screenshots of what my battery life was and what time of day it was, so I'll just drop into the gallery and show you those. So here is the particular graphic that's showing you that I got 1 day and 18 hours and 21 minutes and 26 seconds of charge right off the battery without any recharging, and when I took the screenshot I had 9% battery life left. Now I got a crazy 7.5 hours of screen on time with this device, and I'm talking a lot of Facebook, WhatsApp, internet browsing, YouTube, games, etc. And this thing held up for a crazy long amount of time, and would have gone even farther because I had 9% battery life on, and this too with Wi-Fi switched on, as well as my mobile data connection on whenever I was not using Wi-Fi. Oftentimes, it is the camera of a smartphone that differentiates it from others competing within the same price bracket. And in terms of the Ion NL1, you probably won't be disappointed. Let's fire up the camera now and take a look at the interface. Now, right now I have the front-facing camera on, excuse me. So here, the main camera interface is very familiar. We have some basic shooting modes here, beauty mode, panorama. Up top we have HDR, flash control, as well as the control for switching the cameras. And on the sides we have the camera shutter button and the video shutter button, as well as here for some basic settings. Very basic interface, we've seen this before, no need to go over it in detail. Now the camera itself is an 8 megapixel unit, and images actually turn out pretty well, so I just captured one right there. Let's take a look at what we have got. Now, it does take a little bit of time to render the image, but that's probably because of the lower processing power and the display's limitations. Now, overall, this is an image taken by the front camera, by the way, which is 3.2 megapixels. So I was pretty impressed with the front camera. Pretty nice, good detail, good quality. Now, as I was saying, overall images taken by the rear camera have very good quality, good color reproduction, as well as good white balance. And I was actually surprised by how many tick marks it actually checked. So as you can see here, focus was sometimes hit or miss, but that just depends on you tapping on the display to get a proper focus. And as you saw previously, the images taken were actually taken quite quickly. Now here things look very nice and colorful. So as we're going through all this, here I went on a camping trip, and as you can see, some of the images taken in good daylight came out very well, although there was some motion blur with moving objects. Other than that, I suggest you take a look at these images on your computer screen, because the low resolution of the device's display doesn't really do much justice to the camera. Guess what? We finally reached the conclusion of our review, and it's time to tell you what I thought about this smartphone. Now, let's start off with the price, as I've mentioned that as a sacrifice for a lot of the things in this review. So the Goldberg Ion NL1 costs 7,700 taka, and for that much money, I think it's a very good buy given the things that you do get out of the smartphone. Now, the best part of this device is obviously that 3,300 mAh battery that lasted me 2 whole days and gave me 7.5 hours of screen on time. That type of screen on time is just crazy, and that's one of the reasons why I don't mind some of the sacrifices that this device does make. Now obviously the display is a bit low res and the internals aren't the best, but you do have to make up for that just because of that awesome battery life, as well as for that 7,700 taka price point. Something that surprisingly pleased me quite a bit was the design of this device. It's very comfortable in hand, it's not too big, and it also looks quite attractive. Now, to conclude things and to finish everything off, I think that the Goldberg Ion NL1 is an excellent device if you're looking for a budget smartphone that's going to last you 2 days. Because do recall, I use this device extensively, and if you don't use it as heavily as I did, you'll probably get more than 2 days of battery life out of this. So I really hope you enjoyed this review. It did take a while to come to this conclusion, but you do know I like to get into details. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Facebook, and do visit the written component on the website itself. Also do take some time to leave some comments at the bottom of the video below and give us a thumbs up, because that really does help us get to other people. Now we do answer comments from time to time, so if you do mention them in the comments within the article or within the video itself, we will try our best to answer them in the comment section or in a future video below. So thank you and stay tuned.